Hey everyone, welcome back to another DTF Superstore live stream. I've heard some of you guys, I know my walls are kind of boring. I'll maybe work on it next time. Give me some suggestions on what you think I should put on these super boring white walls in my office. Anyway, do me a favor as we wait for people to kind of trickle into the live stream today. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from. And also, if you have any questions you want me to answer, I already see Jamie Sawyer's already popped in a question, so we'll pull that up in a little while. But let me know your questions, any random questions you have, we will cover more than just, is sandpaper a good second press method? And just to prove to you guys I haven't practiced, I haven't. It's totally sealed up. I ordered some 80 to 320 grit sandpaper. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely let me know where you're watching from. Wade, I might know where you're watching from, but does the class know where you're watching from? While waiting for people to kind of trickle in, I will answer Jamie's question here. Have you noticed color change on certain materials after heat pressing? So I'm guessing you're referencing like the shirt color changing a little bit when you press, and yes, I have seen it. Usually on like a little bit cheaper shirts or materials, but also anything with like really heavy dyes, like a red or a blue, I've noticed them slightly change color. They, in a lot of cases, will change back. If they don't change back, basically what's happening there is you're getting up to a high enough temperature where you are kind of regassing the dyes. And so you're getting it literally so hot that dye is getting affected. So two things I would try is one, try a little bit lower temp. The other thing I would try is maybe a different quality of shirt, maybe a different kind of shirt. But yeah, I have seen that before, mostly on like reds and blue shirts. I'm trying to think if I've done any greens where I would have seen that, but anyway. Hello, Wade and Michelle. They're from Phoenix. They're on the west side of Phoenix. Jamie, where are you watching from? And Wade agrees with me, reds are the worst. I'm always going to tell you that if you're pressing on a new product, test it first before you commit and run the whole thing. I always have suggested that folks kind of dial in a handful of brands that they like to use and just offer those to your customers. There's no sense in sending the entire catalog of shirts to your client, because they're just going to get overwhelmed. So if you like working with like Bella and Canvas, or you like working with Gildan, or you like working with District, or Tultex from SNS Activewear, depending on what products you like to use, just stick with those. And then obviously if somebody has a specific request, you can honor that for sure. So what's happening, Eli? Nice to have you on. Appreciate it. All right, I think we'll get into it. So sandpaper as a second press method. When I was in Las Vegas and somebody mentioned this, I was like, no, just no. Hey Jamie, Saratoga, New York. How's the weather up there? It's getting hot here. We're hitting 100 pretty much every day, or just close to it. So, but yeah, so they said sandpaper was not great, or they said sandpaper was great in some situations. And I'm like, I don't know how in the world that can be. And as I started thinking about it, one of the things people always ask is like, how do you get the screen press feel or screen printing feel? And one of the things that's like specific or unique about the feel of a screen printed garment is it's kind of a little rough. So I started wondering if this will actually give our DTF transfer a little bit more of a screen print feel. Some of the other folks said it was softer. So I've got a couple graphics that we're going to try pressing, and we're going to try all the grits of sandpaper. We've got 80, 120, 150, 220, and 320. We're just going to try them all and just see what happens. Hey, Burntwood, Canada. Awesome. Welcome to the live stream. I love how global we get with this live stream sometimes. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do Say hi to Richard Simmons, everyone. There's a story behind that, and I'll explain it to you later. All right. Awesome. I see some questions coming in. Sweet. I will answer those as soon as we're done with this little test. All right. So let's see. We got our 80. We got our 120. They're all different colors. That's kind of fun. I think I'm going to skip the 150 because that's going to be really close between 120. Let's do 220 and 320. Cool. Obviously, if I see something unique between the 120 and the 220, I'll jump back and try the 150. But for time's sake and not to have this live stream drag on forever, we'll just try these first. All right. Let's see if my new camera will track me. I stood up too fast. There we go. All right. So let me throw this other camera on so you guys can see it. All right, so I've got two different graphics here. I've got this little outdoor bear one. I've got this little beach vibe one right here. So my thought process with that was getting a couple different styles where it's a little more sparse and a little thicker boxes of ink. Let me sit this down real quick. Big shout out to SNS Activewear, specifically Frank Good, for providing us with some t-shirts for this test. We're running the Toltecs 202 t-shirts. All right, so let's put the graphic on here. We'll do the beach right there, the bear right next to it. Try to get them close to each other. Try to get them close to each other so that we can put, well, one sheet over the both of them. Yep, that looks like it'll fit. All right, let's press this and see what happens. Reminder, if you got questions, put them in the chat and I'll answer them when we're done with this little experiment. You know what I should have done? I could have killed two birds with one stone. I should have put a bunch of them on there for the first press, but that's okay. All right, let's give this a whirl. So I'm going to try to get in close with my camera. So really smooth finish. I can see a little bit of the shirt texture kind of coming through. Let's put that P80 on there. 80 grit sandpaper. Are you all geniuses or insane? We're going to find out in a little bit. Do me a favor, guys. Comment below what you think is going to happen. Is this going to be a success? Is it going to be a failure? Have you used sandpaper before? Let me know. All right, let's take a look and see what happened. It smells kind of funny. There's probably something off-gassing from that. Okay, all right. So I hope you guys can see this on camera. If you can't, I apologize. I'll try to get it later. But it definitely kind of poked it down in there a little bit more. Feels pretty good. Y'all might be onto something here. This is looking like it might actually work, or it might actually be a good thing. All right, I'm gonna flip this around real quick so I can get 4 of them on the next one. Set this right there. You guys can look at my shelves full of stuff to test. Keep those questions coming. If you have used sandpaper, which grit did you prefer? All right, let's go. There and there. Go there and there. And while I'm also doing this, just heads up, guys, if you are in Atlanta or Milwaukee, I am going to be at Mamaki in both Atlanta and Milwaukee in the month of June. I believe it's the 13th. It's a Thursday, and it's like the second Thursday in June. I'm going to be Atlanta, and the fourth Thursday in June, I'm going to be in Milwaukee. We're going to do a one-day kind of mini boot camp thing. So if you're in the area, come by. You'll get to see some demos. We'll do some teaching. All right. Now on this one, let's throw on the 120 grit sandpaper and the 220. And we'll press away. Keep those questions coming if you guys got them. We'll answer them afterwards. I'll also bring these over closer to the other camera and closer to the screen so I can see what's actually going on and kind of explain to you guys what I'm seeing. All right. Yep, smells the same. Ooh, look at that. It changed color where I'd pressed it. I do wonder, and I'm a little concerned about the adhesive that holds the sand onto the paper. A little concerned about that maybe coming off. It seems to have pressed it in a little bit, not as much as the other one had, but that feels okay. All right, so this last shirt, so I'm gonna sit that one off the side right now. This last shirt, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do one with the 320 grit sandpaper, and the other set I'm going to do with an old shirt because I don't think I have any parchment paper in my office. You would think I would. This one's a little wrinkled. I'm going to just do a quick press to smooth it out. You don't have to pre-press. This is always a discussion we have at boot camps. You don't have to pre-press. You can if you're concerned about moisture, or in like this case, I had some wrinkles on there I wanted to get rid of. So that's when you should pre-press, is if you have really bad moisture or you have wrinkles. All right, there they are. Top one's gonna be the 320 grit. And while that's pressing, I'm going to glance around my office and see if I have any parchment paper, and I don't. So I'm going to use an old shirt. Old shirt's not great. It's not my favorite. I also really should have some T-seal wanted by now, but you know, it is what it is. The T-seal always seemed to walk away. And FYI, we're using our V2 film here and our super powder. So, all right, 320 sandpaper on the top. Extra shirt on the bottom. Make sure there's no seam on there. There we go. Now the extra shirt, whoa, sorry guys. I can't, you guys lost me. There we go. Sorry about that, crew. One of the things about the old shirt or an extra shirt versus parchment, it still has a pretty soft hand feel. This one did the same thing. Slightly discolored part of the sandpaper. All right. Those look pretty good. All right, let's get back over here and swap back. All right. Back. My hand motions activate the camera so I can do little zoom ins and pans. All right. Okay, let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Let's see. Okay, first of all, I got to hop on here. Love this. We got Vickery, Ohio. We got Mexico. We got the whole of North America covered, guys. Canada, U.S., Mexico. Good stuff. All right. So, here's the first shirt. And I'm going to give my analysis first, and then I'll try to get close into it to show you guys. This 80 grit, it definitely kind of like pokes some holes in it or like some indentations in it. But it is kind of giving it a pretty soft feel. Let's zoom out a little bit so you guys can see a little bit more what's going on here. Okay, so hand feel wise, sorry, I'm going to move this camera so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Give me 1 second. Oh, I just saw a little post on here. Philippines in the, oh my goodness, I got to share these guys. Philippines in the house. Paul, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. It's late over there, isn't it? Like the middle of the night or something? We got Croatia in the house. First Europe of the new season of live streams. So thank you for watching. This girl right here is a troublemaker. She texts me a lot. But it's okay because she's my little minion who goes and tries new things for me. So, hey, Vicky. And Norway. Way to go. We love Norway up there. We've got some friends up there that have watched the channel and I've communicated with quite a bit. 2 a.m. in Philippines. That is late. Okay, here we go. Let's add the camera back in. Here we go. So, this is the 80 grit. And hopefully you guys can kind of see right there. There's a little bit of some extra indentation. And feel-wise, it does feel a little softer. See how that's a little bit more of like the shirts, the shirt weave is kind of coming through, where this is definitely a artificial or an extra texture that isn't the original shirt texture. And then this is 220. Come on, iPhone camera focus. Yeah, I'm getting mostly shirt texture there. I wonder if these guys are looking kind of the same. Yeah, shirt texture. Mostly shirt texture. Yeah, that's got a little bit more of a different kind of texture. So definitely the higher grit sandpapers are not great. They're not, well, not bad. They're just different. Sorry, I'm trying to decide. Maybe it feels a little softer. This is the 320 grit. I expect it to look similar to the 220. Yeah, we're seeing the shirts texture, the shirts weave kind of coming through there. And then this is just the shirt over the top of it. So I totally expect, yeah, that's just gonna look like that. So I think of any of them, I like the 80 the best. But I wanna try something now. I'm gonna crank the pressure up on this and see if that makes any kind of a difference. So let me make sure we're tracking. Track with me. All right, so let's do, there we go. We're gonna do the 80 grit, so the roughest stuff, but we're gonna crank up the pressure on the heat press. So let's throw these guys on here. This is working far better than I expected. I kind of didn't think this was gonna do really anything. Now for the first press, I'm gonna leave it the same I'm gonna leave it the same pressure. I'm just gonna increase the pressure on the second press. So we'll do the full 15 seconds and then we'll hop back on. Here we go. Peel, peel. I really love our V2 hot peel. It peels right away. Now I'm not surprised this curled up a little bit when it got hot. That happens to like all paper stuff. I know when I DTF'd a cardboard box, it did the same thing. So, nope, wrong direction. Let's crank that pressure up. Ooh. That might have been a little too high for the pressure, but it's fine. A smaller user would probably have some troubles getting that thing to press. So let me zoom back out. All right. Yeah, I set the pressure too high. All right, come back over and let's take a look. Zoom out a bit. You don't want to be that close to my face, I just know it. There we go. All right. 2 cams, here we go. This is the one I just pressed with maximum pressure. And yeah, I can see some like, it's not as rough as I thought it might have been. I was kind of thinking it was going to be a little more rough, but it's not super rough. It definitely changes the feel of it. Like it's got a different kind of texture than I'm used to feeling for DTF, but is it better? I don't know. All right, so here's my 2 cents on, whoops. Here's my 2 cents on the sandpaper. It's not really giving a dramatically different feel. It's interesting. I would encourage you guys to try it yourselves and see if it kind of behaves a little differently for a specific graphic you're working with. But I would definitely only go with lower grit sandpaper. So I would do like 60, 80, I probably wouldn't do over 100 because even at 120, I was seeing more of the shirt's texture come through than I was really anything else. So, hello from Poland, Michael. Thanks for joining us, appreciate it. Yeah, so is sandpaper great? No. Is it bad? No. It's just different. It's a little unique. I still think T-Seal or parchment paper is going to give you a lot softer hand feel, but it's definitely a different, I'm sitting here just messing with it while I'm talking to you guys. It definitely is a different feel and a little bit of a different look. I would say if you're doing a design that's like a vintage distress or like a worn vintage kind of look, I think sandpaper might give it a really nice finish. But you are going to struggle finding sandpaper that's bigger than 9 inches by 11 inches. You know why? Because I struggled finding sandpaper that was bigger than 9 inches by 11 inches. So yeah. So that's my 2 cents on all of that. Oh man, we got somebody watching from Scotland too. We've got lots of Europe covered here. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. Ooh. Hola from Spain. All right. Let's get into some of these questions. If you guys got questions, let me know. All right. Let me scroll back up to the top and get started from here. Let's see. Fancy looks. I have seen you before. I think I've seen your YouTube videos because your face looks very familiar there. Actually, I'm almost certain I've seen your YouTube videos. And I think they were fantastic. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole if I'm not careful. Let's get to the questions. All right. Let's see. Here we go. Why am I not getting the correct colors after half-toning the image and adjusting the colors such as saturation and vibrance? So, Paul, this is the exact reason we created like our own like workflow for half-toning, because most halftones like the whole image, obviously it's a little bit softer, but it takes away a lot of that vibrance and saturation. That's because anything that's not white, like 100% white, is getting halftoned when you do a normal halftone workflow. In our halftone workflow, we include a levels adjustment that brings more of those colors down to where they're not going to get any halftones on them. So yeah, a lot of folks, and that was when I first started looking into halftoning, over a year ago when I started teaching our boot camps. Every one of the workflows did that. It just looked, muted. The colors looked muted. I never liked the way that it looked. So basically, if you watch our YouTube video, so go over to your YouTube channel, you can watch it. But it's the same steps as most halftoning. It's just we add a levels adjustment in there to bring more of the colors out. And then we also have kind of dialed in the right size of halftone dots for printing with DTF. That's the whole frequency and angle. The frequency has to do with the size of the dots, and we did a lot of experimentation. I printed multiple things with halftone dots from frequency of 10 all the way up to 70. And 30 to 40 is kind of that perfect range. So do me a favor, hop on our YouTube channel, just search DTF Superstore. It's our top viewed video on the channel aside from an ad, but you can find it there, and that'll show you, and that like one little levels adjustment step is really where we separate our halftone workflow from most halftone workflows that are out there. All right. Let's see. I do not first press with a sheet. However, that heat press I have has like a Teflon sheet that's attached to it. If you're going like to direct metal or it's getting dirty or something like that, you can use some kind of sheet over the top of it. If it were my workflow, I'd probably do a parchment paper over the top of that if I needed to, and then finish it with a T-seal is probably what I would do. All right, let me see. There was another question down here. Use a tea towel. Now, Vicky, this might be a Southern thing. What's a tea towel? I'll let her answer, and then I'll pop the answer back up there later. Okay. How to achieve same as screen print feel with or without halftone. So the screen print feel is, because you're pressing through a mesh, the screen print transfer tends to feel a little bit rougher. And you're just not going to get a rougher feel with DTF just because the way that, like you're talking plastisol inks versus water-based inks, they just tend to have a smoother texture. And so with like our second press video that we did, where we did a deep dive on like a whole bunch of different types of material, what I constitute as a soft hand feel is that it feels similar in texture to the shirt. So when you slide your hand from the shirt down onto the transfer, it feels pretty similar. I was hoping that the sandpaper might give it a rougher texture, but I think just the way the inks work with each other and kind of bond together, it's probably not gonna, I don't know that we're gonna find something that gives us a rough texture, just because it'll just break up the surface of it. So. Have we done a washing test? And the question is, how many washes did the print withstand? This shirt has been washed close to 60 times now, somewhere in that ballpark. We did a torture test video on our YouTube channel. It's actually one of my favorite. So if you go to our YouTube channel, search DTF torture test, it was a video Maureen made, and it was hilarious. But we put that thing through its paces. We sprayed brake cleaner on it. We ran it over with a car. Like you see on the video, all the stuff we did to it, and it held up. And literally the only thing that destroyed it was fire, because we got to go extreme. It's no fun if it doesn't get destroyed. We also did a test with putting it in a pool, like on a swimsuit. So it sat in a chlorinated pool for a week. They held up. DTF is insanely resilient and insanely durable. Now, if you hear about shirts not getting more than like 10 or 15 washes, I'm willing to guarantee there was a breakdown somewhere in the process, whether it was the transfer didn't cure enough or was over cured. Maybe there was not enough adhesive powder because maybe there wasn't enough white ink. There's a lot of combinations that make it durable, but if you have a decent amount of white ink, you have a decent amount of good adhesive powder, it cures properly, and you press it properly, I'm willing to bet that the shirt's gonna go out of fashion before it gets destroyed in the wash. This one's been like 60 or 70 washes. I have another one that is about the same ballpark, and they're both looking fine. Actually, the fibers of the shirt, you're not gonna be able to see it on camera, but the fibers of the shirt, like between these little squares, is starting to fray a little bit, and the transfer still looks fine on it. So when it comes to durability, if it's done properly, no worries. And I don't treat this special. Like, I know early days in DTF, a lot of folks would like send wash instructions, like turn it inside out, don't use fabric softener, line dry only, that kind of stuff. I don't think that's necessary. And that's like the fastest way to tell someone you're not confident in what you made. This thing I wash in my front load washer with Tide and run it through the dryer. Like, I don't treat it special in any way, shape, or form. So, all right. Let's see. Next question. Bonjour, and I'm probably sound really bad saying that, but hello from France. Thank you for watching. How do you have a flexible touch and not like the plastic touch? So, combination of things. The first thing, and the thing that affects this feel the most is the graphic. So these graphics have some shirt showing through, like right there. So if you can get the shirt showing through, that is the first line of defense, and that will make the biggest difference. I have a shirt where I literally printed the same image, one without the knockout and one with the knockout, and the one that was knocked out feels so much softer. So kind of think of it like a hierarchy. Like, the first thing you should do is try to optimize your graphic, knock out some ink, stuff like that, let the shirt color show through. The next thing that affects it the most is the amount of white underbase and the colors in the graphic. If the graphic has a lot of darker colors, deep reds, black, stuff like that, that ink, like just the color of ink, is going to be thicker because it requires more ink involved to make that color. Then it's about the amount of white underbase. Obviously, you want enough white underbase to protect the colors from the shirt below, but you can even fudge this down a little bit to give it a little bit softer feel. I think most people are using more white ink than they need to. So a quick test to do that one is to print up 4 different graphics, one with your white at 100, one with it at 90, one with it at 80, one with it at 70. Cure them, press them all on a shirt, and see if you see any difference. If you don't see any difference, try 60 and then try 50. I've never calibrated a machine that needed to use 100% white. The Chinese machines that we used to carry, those ones I most of the time ran at like 70 or 80% white underbase. The Mamakis, like the TXF 300, I'm usually running at like 60 or 50% white underbase, and I'm getting bright whites with it. So first is the graphic, second is the white underbase. Third and fourth are kind of like, you can make changes, but it's not dramatic, third would be the adhesive powder. There is a big difference from one adhesive powder to the next. I just got done testing 7 or 8 different adhesive powders. I was looking at them. But 7 or 8 different adhesive powders, and one of them was substantially thicker feeling than the rest. And then a couple of them were really, really soft, and one of them we're going to be bringing in called Super Plus, that we had some interesting things happen with, like it pressing and peeling really, really quickly. But we need to do some more tests before we officially announce that situation. But it's a great powder, but the powder can make a difference. But ultimately, like if you don't optimize your graphic and you're using way too much white underbase, it almost doesn't matter what your powder is. It's going to feel plasticky. So optimize your graphic, knock out as much color as you can from there. That's appropriate, obviously. Then your white underbase levels need to be dialed in properly. Then a good quality adhesive powder, and then your film. I have tested some films that do have a softer, more pliable feel. But again, if you don't address the top 3 of those, that film doesn't matter. Our V2 is great. We really do like it. It does give a nice feel. But I have tested some other ones where the feel was thicker sometimes. I haven't found really any that have felt a whole lot softer or more flexible. But I hope that answers your question. I know it's kind of a long answer. One of these days we'll maybe put together a little white paper on the hierarchy of DTF softness or something like that. All right, let's see. What else do we got? I'm going to put this one up because I'm full disclosure, and if you're on Facebook, you're seeing this. So we are working on a Photoshop plugin. We hit a snag, and we've had a little bit of a delay with it. It just wasn't working in PCs and some other issues. So we are working on it. I don't know when we're going to have that ready. We've had some projects that kind of took precedent over it a little bit here and there, but we are working on something. I'll keep you posted as I know. All right. Vadim, hi, I recently received the 32-inch V2 film and it leaves a halo around the print. I increased the pre-print and post-heat settings. Yes, that halo has, oh, he finished it up. Here we go. On the Mamaki, up to 120. Ooh, but I'm still not getting results I had with the previous roll I purchased from you. Is this an issue with a particular batch, or will future rolls have the same problem? So don't run your temps up on the Mamaki up to 120. Don't go over 105. Make sure on your dryer that you have your preheat turned on there, because that halo is just moisture wicking from the ink into that ink absorbing layer, and then the powder is sticking to that little bit of moisture. It's why it's not a lot, it's just a little bit. And I have checked, and this kind of phenomenon is happening to more than just some folks with V2 powder. I went scoured all the Facebook groups to make sure it wasn't that there was an issue. I think it's just a change of season that's happening that's causing some weird abnormalities. And it's happening to other film types as well. So my encouragement to you would be to make sure your preheat or the heated guide plate on your dryer is turned on to about 65 to 75 Celsius. I want to say that's like 130 Fahrenheit or something like that. It's not quite high enough to cure it, but it is high enough to dry out those edges and to start to set up the ink a little bit. So we did if you want to check our live stream last week, we covered that topic through the whole thing, so you can go back and watch that if you want to. We do not sell screen print transfers. We do sell screen printing supplies. We just started doing that, but we're not making any screen print anything here. We do DTF transfers and then some screen print supplies. So another one from France. Let's go. Oh, that looks like the same question, just on 2 different platforms. There we go. All right. And let me see what else we got. The quality of film does matter. There are definitely some cheap films out there. What I would encourage you to do is find a film that you like, that's from a reputable company that you can consistently get it from. Obviously, I like our V2 film that we use here. We do have some other kinds of films and stuff like that, but there are a lot of different qualities out there. And one of the biggest things you'll see is maybe an ink absorbing layer won't absorb a lot of ink, and so you get transfers that just don't have very deep colors. Also, you get really, really sketchy anti-static layers, and that means adhesive powder is going to stick all over it, not just where the graphic is and not just where maybe some moisture is wicking, like we talked about earlier. So definitely a quality PET film matters. The thing I will say is if you do switch out films, it will print differently. You will have to go in and analyze and adjust your ink levels, because that ink absorbing layer is like a sponge. And different films have different amounts it'll hold. You know, like when you pour water on a sponge, it like soaks into the sponge and then all of a sudden it starts leaking everywhere because you pushed it past the point of the amount of ink it could hold. So if you get a film that has a very, very non-absorbent ink absorbing layer, I'm going to say absorb like 8 different times in that sentence. But if you get one that doesn't have a very absorbent layer, it won't be able to lay down as much ink as one with maybe a little bit more ink absorbing layer. So there are definitely some things you want to play with if you do try switching out your films. So, Oscar, you are welcome. Do you recommend the HTV Ront Auto Heat Press for DTF? I'm not familiar with it, so I can't say yay or nay. Bottom line on heat presses is it needs to have consistent heat and consistent pressure. As long as it's got those things, it'll work. Even the Cricut handheld, like the square one, that one works for DTF. You have to be careful that you're pushing hard enough because you do want pressure, but as long as the heat press can give you consistent temperature and consistent pressure, it'll work for DTF. We've got this heat press, a swing-away heat press. We've been carrying these for a long time. We just recently started carrying Stahl's heat presses. So if you're a big fan of those, I know a lot of folks love those things. I know their hat heat press is fantastic. But Andy let someone borrow it, so I'm waiting for it to come back. And I will do a video with it at some point. How about laying on the transfer with a low grit sandpaper over the first press? That way the sand is in the first part of the process. Morton, I like it. Guess what? I have more transfers. Let's try that. So what he's saying is maybe I gotta use the sandpaper on the first press so that it doesn't get like the smoothness of the transfer. So let's see what happens. Is it gonna follow me? Nope. Okay, I'm gonna make sure it's tracking me. And I'm gonna get up slowly because that way I don't lose it. All right, here we go. Let's try it. Whoops. Let's try Morton's idea. Tell me in the comments below, is this gonna work? Give me a thumbs up if you think this is gonna help. All right, he mentions lower grit, but let's go heavy grit. Let's go heavy grit. I do need to lower the pressure a little bit because that pressure was way too high the last time I did it. All right, first press in that. Let's check some of the other questions while we're waiting. Let's see. Oop. Okay, first press. It definitely, I can see, I'll show you guys here. I can see there's a little bit of a texture in the film. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this on camera. No, you're not going to be able to see it on camera. But there's a little bit of a texture to it, but it didn't press in quite as far as I think it needs to. Sandpaper gets hot, y'all. Be careful. All right. So let's look at this. There it is. Okay. It's definitely more textured. Definitely more textured. Morton, that was a great idea, dude. Let me pop the other camera back on here. Okay. So, there is a lot more texture. Look at that. Yep. Let's focus. There we go. So there's a lot more texture on it. So I like it, Morton. Ooh, we got more good ideas. Oh my goodness, people. Now the ideas start flowing in. Okay, I need to process this real quick. Danny, I'll get back to your question in a minute. Let's see. You can also start placing the sandpaper underneath. So we're creating a little sandwich action. I like this. So I love this DTF community. We love to just like try weird stuff. It's fun. Good times. All right. So let me make sure this is tracking me so it doesn't follow me away. And there we go. Okay. So this time we're going to put the sandpaper on the bottom. And there we go. So sandpaper on the bottom. Transfer down. Transfer down. And sandpaper on the top. I love it. Let's see if this works. I'm going to pop this other camera back on here. Show you guys what it looks like right as it comes out of there. All right. Now, hopefully, you can see there's a little bit of texture on there. All right, and second press time. 80 grit sandpaper. So this is giving me a little more confidence that that the 60 or 80 grit might actually work pretty good to give it a little bit more of a rough texture. Seriously, y'all on YouTube and Facebook, you guys have some of the greatest ideas. Holy cow. Okay. Hot. Hot. Don't burn my hand. Okay. Sorry to throw you guys all over the place camera-wise. I like the way that feels. Now, low 0291, because I don't know what your name is. Let's go. Here we go. Check out the texture on this thing. Look at that. Yeah, that is way more textured. And it feels actually... I would say it feels about the same because the thickness hasn't changed. But, like, the thickness feel hasn't changed. But I do I'm kind of digging the feel of it on the top. It is super textured. All right. So, my advice, unless anybody else has a crazy idea, because those were great. Those were absolutely fantastic ideas. All right. So, I want you guys to go try it. Try doing a 60 or 80 grit sandpaper. I would not go over 100. You're not going to get the same kind of result. Maybe 100, maybe 100 look a little, but we're going for a little bit of a rougher feel, obviously, or a little more violent kind of pressing with this. But yeah, I'm kind of digging it. It's not perfect for everything, and that's kind of what the folks that did it in Vegas said, is it's not great for everything, but I definitely think for like some vintage tees, that might look kind of cool. And like I said, it definitely gives a different look. Yeah, look at that. I like it. Man, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Seriously, you guys have some of the best ideas. I didn't even think about putting it under it to help like punch up that the roughness of it. All right, let's see. Let me get back to Danny's question. All right. We got the Mamaki 300 combo. The transfers are coming out a little bit oily after curing. What temp do you recommend for the dryer? And is this a humidity issue? It's not a humidity issue. You are not curing your transfer completely. So when it feels oily, that's that glycerin that hasn't quite worked its way out of the ink yet. So you need to get one of those laser thermometer things and check what your actual temperature is inside your oven. Pretty much every dryer I've ever worked with, the temp on the screen is different from what the temp is inside. They try to do their best with the thermistors to read the temp right, but when it comes to the actual deck, where the transfers are being heated, the temp's usually off. So I would encourage you to get one of those laser thermometers and see what your actual temp is. You want to be curing between about 110 Celsius and 140 Celsius. Anything under 110, you're going to undercure, and even at 110, if it's going through too fast, it might undercure. Anything above 140 is going to cure, but you run the risk of it burning or overcuring. So kind of in that 110 to 140 range, the adhesive kind of stays liquid at those temps, which is kind of what you want. So that's what's going on. You're not quite curing it quite enough. It's probably going to press okay, and it's probably not going to affect durability a whole ton if it's just a little bit oily. But if you're selling the transfers, your customers are going to be really disappointed when they get an oily transfer. It's not fun, and it looks horrible. So, best air pressure settings. Medium high pressure, I would consider between 70 to 80 psi. A low pressure would be like 40 to 60, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. Low 029, great idea. Loved it. All right. So, just a noob, go to our website, dtfsuperstore.com, and search for Pressing Cheat Sheet. It is a free download on our website. It tells you what temp to do for cotton, polycotton blend, polyester, cardboard, wood, whatever. So, all right, let's see. I love that you guys are having conversations in the chat right now. That's awesome. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. All of our live streams stay on YouTube. So, you're watching it on Facebook. So I think you can still watch it later on our Facebook page, but it might be easier to find on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube, search GTF Superstore, and then go to the lives. And all of our live streams we've done will be there, so you can watch it later. You can also use paper thermometer test strips for tunnel drying calibration. Yeah, you can definitely do that as well. I've found that the laser thermometer guns are great because you just shoot it in a couple areas and kind of take an average. You can also use it to check that your heat press has got the right temperature settings as well, but those paper thermometer test strips do work well as well. We were actually using those to work on testing our BMAC Super Shaker dryer. You're right, Morton, you never know. That's why I test so many things, and why I like do pretty exhaustive testings, like with the new powders that I was testing. I went really weird and granular, but you don't know until you push that. And that's one of the things that I love about this job that I get to do is I get to push stuff. I get to push things to where they break and they quit working. And then I can share with you guys. And then also we know what that operating window is, right? Because when I said 110 to 140 for the oven temperature, you can cure in those temperature ranges. But if your humidity is higher and you're on the lower end of that temperature, it might throw things off a little bit. So most of our recommendations we give are like kind of in the middle of those operating windows. So if you are downloading that pressing cheat sheet from our website, again, just go to dtfsuperstore.com and search for pressing cheat sheet. And you'll see it. You can download it. It's for free. Obviously, we just need your email and stuff like that. But yeah, and we just love testing stuff out. And this was pretty cool. Like I said, I'm not going to use a sandpaper all the time, but in a certain like situation use case, it worked really kind of good. So I love it. If you guys have more ideas or things that you want to try or that you think I should try or that you're afraid to try, I'm not afraid to burn stuff. or to break things. Like that's what I do. Try to figure stuff out. Andy unintentionally called me the chief figure outer guy. I said, let's put that on a business card. But anyway, all right, I think I covered everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. If I didn't answer your question, please drop me a note and I will try to answer on the next one. And for those of you who are wondering, what's the next live stream going to be in 2 weeks? I'll give you a hint. I'm going to show you guys how to make this, and I'm also going to have put it through the dishwasher. So we will find out, finally, what happens when my DTF water bottle goes through the dishwasher. Again, thank you so much for watching from all over the globe, from the Philippines to Europe, Norway, Croatia, Spain, France, Scotland, Canada, Mexico, and right here in the great US of A. Thank you all so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. Love your ideas. Keep them coming. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.